In 2005, we had the World Speed Shooting Championship in Piru, California, and SIG was a big sponsor there. Now, 2005, we're talking 13 years ago, 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago, right? So we, at this point, SIG is not the company it is today. Mm-hmm. But they were trying to get involved in the competitive shooting scene, and they offered a prize where if you broke the world records and you won the championship, you would win $10,000 from SIG and $10,000 from the Outdoor Channel. And I'm from New Orleans. This was the year of Katrina as well. So we had a whole lot of things going on in the family. We lost everything like days before this event. Literally, the house I grew up in is just an empty lot now. I mean, we lost everything.
So you got to win. This is the come up.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So well, I wasn't even going, dude. Honestly, I was in the where was I? I was in Ecuador competing when all this was going down, and I got back home and I see my family, my relatives, everyone. They're at my house. They're evacuated. And we get back to New Orleans to go help kind of salvage what we could, find all the guns and find everything. And I just remember my dad saying, hey, when are you leaving? I'm like, dude, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. And I'm right here, dude, to do whatever we need to do to help the family. And he's like, man, you have to go to the match and blah, blah, blah. He does this whole spiel.
Fuck you, you're going.
Yeah. So anyway, I find myself there. I win the world championship, which was incredible. But you needed to break what they call the impossible 72 seconds. And I think I shot like 72 and change or something. So I just barely missed it. So I won the championship. I won a good bit of money, but I didn't win the extra 20 grand, right? Because it was impossible to do. Nobody can do it, whatever. The next year we go back. It's 2006. Some guy named JJ won it. I don't even know who he is, but
never heard of him.
Never heard of her. So anyway, he won it, but he didn't break the record either, right? He didn't break that impossible record. And then the following year they added in another event. And they said, now you have 80 seconds to break it. The problem was that event they added wasn't an 8-second course of fire. It was more like a 9 or 10-second course of fire. So you had to be spot on.
So they don't want to give up the 20.
They don't want to give it up, dude. And they doubled the money. They said, we're doubling the money. Nobody's going to do it. So anyway, I go back in 2007. I win that world championship, the World Speed Shooting Championship, and I break all the records. I get all the cash. It's awesome. Great payday. It was on my wife's birthday, and one day of work I made like 40 grand. It was crazy.
You're like, we're moving on up, honey.
Yeah. So I was like, this is amazing. It was the biggest payday in all of shooting.
Sizzler. Dental work.
Going to Sizzler, baby. Oh, and dental work, of course. But back then, dude, there was nothing else like that. And still to this day, they've never done it again, by the way. So I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing that I won the money. But long story short, SIG had to put up all that money, or most of it, and they called me, the guy at the time, Bud Feeney, who hired me at SIG. Awesome person, awesome guy. Man, I wish he was still there with us, but he's moved on to retirement and doing other things in life and sporting clay and whatnot and having a good time. But he called me and said, hey, who's this guy that I'm writing this big check to? Because I at least want to know who he is and if he's a good person. So that's kind of how we met. And we hit it off, man, ever since. And he had me come in for a couple interviews at SIG. I was extremely impressed with the company. I was extremely impressed, more importantly, with the people. It's crazy, man. Like, I've been to a lot of other gun companies, seen a lot of other factories, but there was no other place that I fit. Being in my military background, I felt like, man, I have a home here. These guys are all pulling in the same direction. And at that time, we were a 226, 229 type of a company. We didn't have half the stuff
line, yeah.
we have. That was it. So, but I can't tell you, I can't sit here in front of you and say, yeah, I saw we were going to get the military contract and we were going to be this and that. But what I can tell you is that I saw the people there were like no other people, man. Just extremely passionate.